Hey everyone, and welcome back to OntarioCyrptids. First things first, happy Easter to everyone out there in YouTube land. Hope you all had a fantastic long weekend with your family members and friends. My son, nephew, and I had dinner with my brother's family and my sister and her husband. Yesterday was the first time in 3 years since we had celebrated Good Friday together. What fun we had. It was good to get together again. By the way, YouTube Analytics says that out of the 54,000 viewers this past 28 days, only 10.3% of you guys are subscribed. So, for the 50,000 of you who are enjoying this content, smash that subscribe button. Okay, now let's get to why you should subscribe. I have 4 stories to share with you all today. We will be heading to Florida, Georgia, New Jersey, and California. If you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com. I will be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Okay, go grab yourself a beverage and get cozy in your favorite spot and sit back and relax. Okay, this first encounter takes place on June 26, 2021. It takes place in Orange County, Florida, and the nearest town is Lake Monroe. My husband and I are from California and new to Florida. We wanted to explore some Florida forest land. We happened upon the Rock Springs Run State Reserve. We drove onto a dirt road and parked off to the side. We got out and just started walking around. Right away, we saw a lot of vultures and groups of white-tailed deer. The area was buzzing with wildlife and sounds we didn't recognize. We wanted to walk deeper into the trees, which would take us down to a lower terrain, but even with our hiking clothes and shoes, it turned out to be too much for us. We're very healthy and active, but it didn't seem like a fun idea. There were just too many wet, swampy areas of ground, and it turned out to be almost impossible, and we weren't sure if we wanted to struggle through alligator territory. We made our way back up to a dirt path, and that's when we started hearing the banging sounds. At first, we thought it was a person out there doing something, but then the same sound started coming from another direction, maybe a quarter of a mile from the first one. It sounded like they were hitting trees with a baseball bat or a big piece of wood. It continued to go back and forth from one spot to another. It was one of those things that didn't seem weird at first until you stopped to think about it. No animals do that. And why would people go way out of their way and begin hitting trees in the swamp and then take turns doing it? We just couldn't fathom what the purpose would be. We listened and then walked back to our car and left. Okay, the next one takes place in February of 2020. It takes place in Dade County, Georgia, and the nearest town is Rising Fawn. My wife and I live in Rising Fawn, just off of Highway 11 on Cave Springs Road. We were coming home from visiting family in Alabama on February of 2020. We were traveling north on Highway 11 just after crossing into Georgia. It was around 11 p.m. We were driving a 2003 Toyota Sequoia, traveling around 55 miles per hour. It came up out of the ditch when I was about 20 to 30 feet away from it. It was on my wife's side of the vehicle, passenger side. As my front bumper reached the point where it was, I saw the size of this thing. it stopped on the white line of the road and realized I was about to hit it. It kept coming out of the ditch as my front fender came by it. At this point, the top of his head was about at the roof's height of the car. When it was at the mirror on the door, its chest was at the window on my wife's door. This thing's chest alone filled the entire window, and its arms were straight down. The thing was sucking it in to keep from getting hit. I could not believe it afterwards that my mirror did not get knocked off. Its arms were like 5-gallon buckets at the biceps. It was a grayish-white color with either tints of brown or black. As we got past it, I realized with the height of our sequoia and its chest being in the door's window, it had to be at 8 feet tall or more. I'm almost 6 feet tall and my head doesn't come above the sequoia. All right, this next one takes place June 16th of 2018. It takes place in Burlington County, New Jersey, and the nearest town is Chamon. I have been out scouting research locations for snake studies on Google Earth and found an area that we really wanted to check out, which was an open paleodune ridge that offered plenty of basking nesting habitats that the snakes we were researching liked to use. The hike there was pretty rough, walking through knee-deep wetland at points and wrestling with tangled of green briars and other thorny bushes to get to the location, which was about 1.5 miles back into the woods. Upon finally arriving at the site, we were able to settle down and start looking for good spots that the snakes we were looking for used. As we were walking up on one of the ridge fingers, we came upon an abandoned hunting stand that looked like it could be used as a shelter. I was a little unnerved because we really didn't want to run into someone out there, especially if they weren't expecting company. As I was looking around, my friend went back behind me to look around or use the bathroom while I continued to look. I began to hear bipedal walking in the swamps below us, what sounded like sticks breaking and snapping. I was pretty freaked out thinking it was a hunter, so I yelled down at it saying, "Hello? Anyone there?" No response. As I continued to look, I saw part of a dark figure go from tree to tree. Long enough to know I wasn't imagining it, but not long enough to identify a shape, size, or detail. My memory fails to remember exactly how tall off the ground it was, but the encounter lasted several seconds, from when I first heard the walking, saw the dark flash, and when it subsequently disappeared or stalked in the swamp. After this, I rounded up my friend and we headed out of there pretty quickly, not knowing if a nearby hunter was there or worse, some crazy dude was stalking us. A few days went by before I really began to realize what I could have seen, and it just made a little sense that someone was out there messing with us. I have since returned to the location to look some things over. Large game trails surround the dune, but other than that, not much further evidence was able to be found. Okay, so this is going to be the last story of the day. It takes place February 20th of 2013 in Humboldt County, California, and the nearest town is Trinidad. On Wednesday, February 20th of 2013, I was driving with 3 other women to Trinidad, California to attend a 3-day quilting event. With me in the car were GY in the front passenger seat, my sister JW, and my sister-in-law CT in the back seat. It was close to 5 p.m. when we arrived in the Trinidad area on Highway 101. However, I missed the exit for Trinidad and had to drive up to the next one to go back. I couldn't get back on the highway there, so had to turn south onto Patrick's Point Road to get back to Trinidad. The sun was shining through the trees. As I drove, someone stepped out onto the road in front of me. He wasn't dangerously close, but close enough to cause me to slow down and say something along the lines of, "What an a-hole." As I got nearer to him, my first thought was, he's really tall. My second thought was, what's he wearing? He's got something on that is solid black from head to toe, and there aren't any lines to denote a jacket or a collar or pant legs. He appeared to be in silhouette with the sun behind him. He was walking east to west. My next thought was, his arms are down to his knees. Lastly, I thought he was trim with broad shoulders like Michael Phelps. He was totally smooth. However, I could not see his face. He seemed to be looking away from us. He was walking with a purposeful stride and didn't take very many steps to cross in front of us. It only took a few seconds for me to reach the spot he crossed. I looked right where he would have stepped off the road, and all there was thick brush and trees. I had expected a path or clearing if he was going to cross there, because on the left where he stepped out was forested land, right next to some sort of fire station, a white building with an American flag on the flagpole. At any rate, we all wondered, what was that? And Bigfoot came to mind. There you have it, guys. 4 fantastic stories. And I'm happy that the 2 near misses didn't have a disastrous ending. A lot of the Sasquatch sightings happen to be while they are crossing the road. And I don't think I've ever heard of one where the driver has physically hit a Sasquatch. If you have, let me know. Now that the weather is starting to get really nice outside, I'm thinking of maybe starting to take my own videos so I can share them right here on my channel. But in any case, guys, if you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com. I would be more than honored to share your story on this channel. Thank you all for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. And please hit that like button on your way out and smash that subscribe button, especially those 87% of you who aren't subscribed to my channel. Finally, have a great long Easter weekend, and I hope to see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.